Montreal Mayor Denis Coderre wants to turn the city into Paradise City for the 375th, but it's looking more and more like a jungle every day. It's time for another podcast. Not quite live from Forget the Box Studios in Montreal. This is the FTB Podcast, the only podcast you're listening to right now. And welcome to the podcast. We're doing this live on Sunday evening, July 23rd, 2017. I'm your host, Jason C. McLean, also known as the Mature Chipmunk. We're going to talk about Guns N' Roses returning to town. We're going to talk about Montreal's 375th. But first, let's meet our panel.
My name is Tanu Oberoi. I'm a web designer. I'm a musician. I'm from Montreal. I'm a friend of Jason's. We go back to high school. Very happy to be here.
And I'm Laurence Tenenbaum. I'm a co-founder of Forget the Box, and I'm Montrealer. Glad to be here.
Glad to be here. Well, I'm glad to have both of you here. Royal West, we're the best. We'll always pass the test.
That's right.
But we're Montreal. A lot of people are glad to be in Montreal, and Mayor Denis Coderre wants everyone to be glad to be in Montreal for the 375th anniversary, and he's spending a lot of money on it. Jerry Gabriel has this report.
Those who like sitting down in nature but could do without the comfort of a bench or in the aesthetic quality of a real tree stump or rock, Montreal Mayor Denis Coderre has you covered. The $3.4 million fake granite tree stumps have arrived on Mont Royal. This was done under the banner of Montreal's 375th anniversary celebrations. Projects included lighting up the Jacques Cartier Bridge twice, a national anthem for the borough of Rivière-de-Prairie and Pointe-aux-Trembles, and an urban rodeo, which has drawn the ire of many animal rights activists and people just wondering what a rodeo has to do with Montreal's heritage. Total costs are estimated at $1 billion, twice as much as Canada is spending on its 150th anniversary celebrations. Could Coderre have picked better projects to invest in? Is the 375th anniversary worth celebrating to this extent? Or is this just a very pricey municipal election year stunt? If you need somewhere to sit and think about it, you can always try one of the fake granite tree stumps on the mountain.
Fake granite tree stumps. Wow, what a lovely thing to have to sit on Mount Roy. I mean, come on. Like, fake granite tree stumps, lighting the Jacques Cartier Bridge, a rodeo. What does this have to do with Montreal?
I have no idea, but what I find interesting is why are they caged? That's a big question mark.
Point too.
Like, because we saw some that were caged, we saw some that weren't caged. So what's up with that?
Well, I think the caging actually has to do with preventing graffiti.
Okay.
But I mean, some of them are uncaged, so it makes no sense. Although I know there's a big scandal I saw on CTV News, the Mordecai Richler gazebo, which even though somebody offered a free gazebo to the city, Coderre said no, we wanted to pay his buddy several $1 million to make a gazebo. And they didn't treat it with anti-graffiti paint. And there was this story of a drug-fueled dance party, which was just basically tam-tams with the techno music, drawing on, I'm sure some of those people were on drugs, but not all of them, drawing on the ground. And now they got to, spend another $1 million to treat it against graffiti? Like,
crazy.
It seems like, I don't know, I think, it's the whole thing, it's an election year, so bread and circuses, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think Coderre even does the circus part that well.
I think, well, it depends if you're talking about his media presence, because he's quite a circus himself.
He's entertaining, yeah. Denis Coderre is an entertaining man, but he's also very gets very angry sometimes when somebody challenges him. I remember during the Pitbull ban, somebody went up to make a statement saying this wasn't a good idea, and he just said, "Shut off her mic." And he's like, "This rodeo, people say it's bad. We're doing it. It's happening." Like he's like a strong man.
He's insecure. He's very insecure. It's obvious.
Insecure and stubborn.
Stubborn, yeah. But the thing is, though, I mean, are people buying it? Like, are tourists going to see these ugly tree stumps things and think?
Well,
that
I think that tourists and I mean people from Canada and whoever come to Montreal, they're from outside of Montreal, see Montreal and Denis Coderre completely different from Montrealers, because it seems that Denis Coderre, he's all about kind of impressing people who are coming from out of town for this whole 350th type thing.
375, yes.
375, sorry. But as far as the way he's allocating money, it's for the visitors. It's not for like it's not for like kind of like just like the.
Although the national anthem for Rivière de Prairie Pointe-aux-Trembles, $50,000 for a national anthem for a borough of Montreal. That is kind of local, but that's
true. Yeah.
But it's also ridiculous. And this like the Montreal 375 is costing twice as much as Canada's 150th.
Wow.
That's a whole country. I mean, you could talk about the whole thing of like stolen native land and the fact that like should we really be celebrating these milestones? But 375 is a ridiculous one to celebrate too.
Yeah.
Like once you get the 300s, like 350, 400 maybe. But it's because it's an election year. But I don't know. I mean, I personally support Projet Montréal. I didn't like Coderre to begin with, but let's just hope that people aren't so distracted and people are actually able to beat Coderre this time. Like, I mean, there's only the good thing is municipal politics wise. There's only really one party in contention. It's Projet Montréal. Last time there was Mélanie Joly, who's now our heritage minister, who was running for mayor as well, and she took a lot of the anti-establishment votes, meaning that there was just the that split the anti-establishment vote, and all the establishment vote went for Coderre, which is how he won. Do you think he's going to win again?
I think so. I think he just has a way of kind of like persuading, like he seems to appeal to like kind of like, unfortunately, he seems to appeal to kind of like the majority, so I think he is going to win because of the sentiment of the mood of Montreal and the people who are voting. Yeah,
it's also the mega city too, because I mean, well, you remember back in the day when it was like they actually said last time, like the last election, if you just took the original boroughs of Montreal, the original parts, Projet Montréal would have won. But now there's people who don't necessarily live in the center of the city, certain parts of the West Island.
Yep.
Like wait. Dorval is part of Montreal, I think, or is it Pointe Claire? Pointe Claire is, yeah. I mean, do you think Coderre's going to win next time?
I hope not.
Yeah, I hope not too. Yeah.
I think he has a fighting chance.
Yeah, but it's just a matter of convincing people that, like the ordinary people, for example, one of the things that Projet Montréal wants to spend money on is expanding the metro. Like the blue line past Snowden all the way to Montreal West and Dorval even, and then east as well too. And I think that's a good idea.
That's a great idea. Yeah,
that's a great idea. Assuming that some of the landowners in the area agree.
Yeah, that's
been a problem in the past. That's the reason why the Cavendish extension has been talked about since 1940 and hasn't been done.
Yeah.
Because there are landowners in the area that don't want the traffic.
Yeah. Well, we'll also remember the reason why Vendôme Metro is where it is because Westmount didn't want a metro station, didn't want the element it would bring into its community and stuff like that. The element, the rowdy downtown element, the people who now just walk through to get to Vendôme. But I don't know. I mean, 375, like the people like the giant puppets.
Yeah,
that was something that was popular.
Cool. That was cool. Yeah,
I mean, some of the stuff. A rodeo too, though. Like, I mean, forget the fact that a lot of people aren't forgetting the fact that it's cruel to animals. But like, we're not Calgary.
True.
Like, are people going to be nobody comes to Montreal for a rodeo.
Unless you're a tourist.
You think tourists would? Why would they come here for a rodeo?
Well, they wouldn't come. I don't think they'd come to Montreal for a rodeo, but they would probably like a rodeo, and I think that's why I keep thinking that Coderre's doing all this stuff for
the tourists.
It's the tourists,
but the tourists don't vote in the municipal election. Although the businesses that make money off the tourists do.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's a weird approach. I think he might actually not be doing his whole we call it BS right, which would be very, very good. Another good thing is there's now actually kind of a sad thing. We lost a reality star from the media this week. We're going to talk about that in our news roundup. Spicy quick, guys. Sean Spicer, White House press secretary, resigned as White House press secretary just a couple of days ago, and I mean he was obviously somebody who was very bad at his job.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that's what
they made fun of him on Saturday Night Live for a reason.
Yeah, Melissa McCarthy did such a good impression. Like he was so like some of the things like he did like some of them were like just hilarious. Like where he wore a green tie and they green screened his tie. Where his first time where he went out there started saying like those were the biggest inauguration crowds ever, and you guys are so horrible. Obviously, he's defending somebody who's almost indefensible. But then you look at the new communications director, Anthony Scaramucci, who is pretty much, people say, is the reason why Spicer left. I saw him do a press conference. He's not going to be the press secretary, but I saw him do a conference, and he was still saying all the BS Trump lines, like, this is the greatest president ever, this and that, but he was saying them in a way that didn't seem like he obviously didn't believe what he was saying.
Right.
Like, Spicer once said that Trump didn't own a bathrobe. Because he was being accused that people were saying the president was just walking around the White House in a bathrobe. And he's like, no, I don't think the president even owns a bathrobe. Now, I own a bathrobe. Most people, Donald Trump has been photographed in a bathrobe. Like, obviously the man owns a bathrobe. Like,
yeah.
But then there was like some horrible things he said, where he said even Hitler didn't use chemical weapons, which is obviously not true. Like, that was horrific. Like, the fact that he would say that. And people tried to get him fired over that. So there's the really bad, and there's like the really ridiculous. And I remember there was one clip where he was talking about, he was showing this like sort of fence wall thing that was being built, and people said, "Is this the wall?" And he, instead of answering the question, he got mad. He said, "This is a whatever type fence. This is a whatever." He just kept repeating it. Like, I don't know. Spicy has left his position. Somebody who's gotten a new position is Lise Payette. She is now the Governor General of Canada. She was formerly an astronaut, just like Liberal candidate Mark Garneau was formerly an astronaut. I think the Liberals, their priorities are in space. If we had a drum, right? If you're a drummer, yeah, you can do our drum rolls. Yeah, so she's the governor, but there's a bit of a controversy because a number of years ago in Maryland, she was charged with vehicular manslaughter, and I think it was expunged from her record because it wasn't intentional, but people brought that up and said, like, asked the Prime Minister, how did this factor in, and how he responded. He acknowledged it, but it almost sounded like he didn't know it had happened. I mean, I don't know. Do you think that's digging too much, or do you think a vehicular manslaughter charge is something that should prevent people from becoming Governor General? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
It's a tough question.
It's a tough question because I mean, when they charged her, they must have had a reason to pursue her legally, right? Like,
because she did run over or hit somebody and the person died.
Yeah. So it was like, it wasn't a clear cut thing that she was like not responsible in the first place. It wasn't clear cut.
Yeah, but it was expunged eventually.
It was okay. Yeah.
But I mean, I guess the thing is though too, she has her own name. Like she is famous. I mean, the Governor General is one of the most useless and extremely important jobs in the government. It's purely symbolic. It means nothing except for when somebody wants to prorogue Parliament or somebody wants to form a coalition. Then it becomes extremely important.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we almost saw where Harper prorogued Parliament, and we almost had Stéphane Dion as Prime Minister at one point.
It's true.
It's true, yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm not the biggest Trudeau fan. I think he's overrated. The selfie PM. One of the podcasts I listen to is called The West Wing Weekly, and they have Justin Trudeau on as a guest because to the rest of the world, Justin Trudeau seems like this cool liberal guy. But really, he's not as he's a feminist, but he sells arms to Saudi Arabia. I mean, kind of a bit of a problem. Now a sad story though that came out this week is the death by suicide of Linkin Park singer Chester Bennington. And it happened on Chris Cornell's birthday, and he was apparently a very big fan of Chris Cornell, and Chris Cornell had hung himself as well too. Yeah. I mean, it's not. I never personally got that much into Linkin Park, but you were into Linkin Park.
Yeah, I went through a phase. Like I was never part of that scene, but I always, when I heard his voice, I always resonated with it, and I couldn't believe it. Yeah, it's really sad, and apparently like he was apparently doing really, really well. He had suffered from like addiction problems, depression, whatever. And he was recovering. He was going through a really happy time just before he had spoke or he had sang or something at Chris Cornell's like funeral. Yeah, as well.
And they were on tour too. I saw there was a Montreal date scheduled in August.
Oh yeah! Wow!
Yeah, like
so.
It's sad. It's like second in a row. Rock stars. I mean, I guess rock stars used to kill themselves a lot more back in the day, but that hasn't happened. Like I'm sorry to sound crass, but that hasn't happened in a while. Like that, and now it's. I mean, a lot of people were really influenced by this guy. Yeah. And maybe found solace in some of the stuff he did. I mean, were you a Linkin Park fan ever?
Not really.
Not really, but we know some of their songs.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's
just as a musician, being a musician, hearing about that, it's just because musicians, I guess, it's something I feel that artists and musicians have in common is like, you know, emotional issues and like whatever, mental health. I don't like using that word, but like emotional issues is something, and obviously it was something emotional that drove him towards that.
Yeah.
You know, so it just resonates.
It's not like he planned it for a while because, like I said, he was on tour.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
He had things to do the next day. Like, it's...
And I think the problem with, like, depression and stuff like that is that when you're down in it, it feels like you've always been depressed, and it feels like you'll never get out. That's the reality of depression, and that's the scary part of it, and that's what causes that hopeless feeling. Yeah.
It's we're gonna stay on the music subject, but that was an incredibly serious thing. We're now gonna move to something a little bit more. I guess we're gonna have a little bit more historical, a little bit lighthearted. I'm gonna do a little bit of a rendition of something for you guys right now. In Montreal, we all live through winter cold, the fakers and the liars. But in the summer months, our city's on fire. And sometimes we get burned. In 25 years, did we learn? Or once again, will we just be ticket buyers? Hannah Besseau has this report.
Montreal has had its fair share of riots over the years, some for political reasons, and others due to the success or failure of our hockey team. One of the city's most unique riots, though, stemmed from an unfinished concert. On August 8th, 1992, the Guns N' Roses Metallica co-headlining summer tour came to the Olympic Stadium. After opening act Faith No More played for the planned 45 minutes, Metallica took the stage and all was going fine. That was until a pyrotechnics accident sent lead singer James Hetfield to the hospital, abruptly cutting the band's set short. It took over 2 hours for Guns N' Roses to hit the stage and under an hour for them to leave unexpectedly mid-song. That was the tipping point for about 2,000 of the 53,000 in attendance. Inside the stadium, they set seats on fire, broke glass display cases, and outside, they uprooted a street lamp and overturned a police car, among many other instances of mayhem and property damage. GNR lead singer Axl Rose later blamed his premature departure on problems with his vocal cords and the stadium's on-stage monitors. The band was barred from playing the Olympic Stadium for life. Now, 25 years later, Guns N' Roses returned to Montreal as the Not in This Lifetime tour hits Parc Jean Drapeau on August 19th. While Rose did perform under GNR banner at the Bell Centre in 2010, this will be the first time the lineup that played the Big O in '92 will be once again on stage in Montreal. This will also be a few weeks after Metallica played the same outdoor venue. So, is all forgiven, or do Montreal Guns N' Roses fans still hold a...
Let me tell you something. That concert we just talked about, thanks Hannah for that report, was actually my first concert ever. I was like 15 years old. I went there. I was a huge fan. I was so upset the show was canceled. I saw everything. I saw people lighting their chairs on fire. I saw people trying to knock over the car in the display case. I just didn't register. I just figured this is what people did at concerts because it was my first concert. And I get home. I fall asleep. Next morning, again, I'm a kid. My mom wakes me up. She's like, your aunt called from Calgary. She heard on the news there was a riot. I'm like, riot? Oh, yeah, that riot. Yeah, so... That was my first concert. I'm still... Axl did say thank you, money we were funded, we're out of here. At least I remember him saying that. And I think I'm still owed about $33. You owed $33
You kept the
too,
ticket, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were at that concert too.
I was at that concert.
Is that your
too,
first
yeah.
concert too? Or?
It was one of my first, yeah.
One of your first.
Yeah.
So where were you sitting?
I was sitting up in the nosebleeds.
Okay. I was in the middle somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
It was but like, I mean... Like, Metallica did put on a good show until they got burned, but even Guns N' Roses, it wasn't up to their par. Like, they weren't even performing at peak, I don't think. Like, but going back, are you going to go back?
I think I'm going to go for the experience and just walk around and listen to that concert to get my money's worth. Yeah. But, like, I think, like, number one, like, the prices, I think it's, like, a complete rip-off. And it's not like an actual, like, reunion. it's like 50% of the original Guns N' Roses lineup. So I don't think it's worth like the high price, you know. So.
But it's got the main people. It's got Axl, it's got Slash, it's got Duff, right? I mean,
no, I totally disagree.
You totally disagree?
I totally disagree. I think like that was
Matt Sorumb's on drums, right? Or is it?
No.
Oh, it's not even.
No,
Who's the drummer?
The beauty of that band was the original members and the later members that came together and the chemistry they formed together, and like the new version of Guns N' Roses that came to the Bell Center, 2009?
Yeah, but that was Axl and Friends. I don't even consider that Guns N' Roses. That was a cover band, basically.
Yeah, true. But
with the original lead singer.
Yeah, true. But even with Slash and Duff, it's still not the same energy as it was.
Yeah.
During Appetite and Use Your Illusions. I've seen the footage and it just doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel as good.
Although even though after Izzy left, though, because he was one of the main writers, Gilby Clarke did a good job when he was performing with them. Matt, are you more of an Adler fan or a Matt Sorum fan?
I like them both. I think they're both like really good drummers. They have different styles. Steven Adler is like a jazz influence. You know, he was like a fan of John Densmore, the Doors drummer. Like he has a loose, jazzy, a lighter style. Matt Sorum came from the Cult. He was more pure hard rock. Like he was just like a heavy hitter, very, very solid drummer as well. They're both great drummers, you know.
Yeah.
And they're both excluded for political reasons, you know.
Personal reason. Axl wanted to pay money or something.
Well, Izzy is about money. They actually don't want to. They didn't want to pay him like basically what I feel is what he's worth.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to give him like they basically wanted to hire him like a hired gun, you know. And he was actually a huge part of the songwriting success of like the biggest hits, you know, on Illusions and Appetite and Life.
And Axl Rose too. Axl Rose was the other half of that. Like,
he was, but Axl without Izzy, you can hear it in Chinese Democracy.
Yeah, it's like sort of good.
It's sort of good, but it really falls short, you know?
Yeah.
And so I feel like, you know, like for like this one opportunity, especially for original Guns N' Roses fans that like have been wanting for decades, like like Appetite just turned 30 years old on the 20, just like 2 days ago or something.
Yeah.
It turned 30 years old, and to actually have like an opportunity to have all the members, yet Axl or whoever's like handling Axl like didn't allow that to happen, I think is like really sad for the original members, and it's So it's kind of like
it's a halfway mark.
It's like a vote. Yeah. It's a vote not to go. To not to go is like a vote saying, like, oh yeah, maybe I'd go if it was like $30 to go pay like $150 to go see like 50% of Guns. Nah.
I think maybe if they subtracted the money that they still owe me from that ticket back in 1992, I might consider going. Just on principle.
Well, they had a special where there was like a $30 like 24-hour sale.
So it should have been free for me.
It should have been free for you. You had to show up with like your yellow ticket from 92, or whatever 90.
One thing too I find interesting is they have. It's zones. It's like it's Park Jean Drapeau, but like not like Asiago where you buy your ticket, which is expensive, but you can go everywhere.
Yeah.
Here you buy one ticket, which is more expensive, gets you in the area near the stage, general admission. The second ticket gets you into the second zone, so it's still general admission, but you're only allowed to walk in certain areas.
Yeah, it's cordoned off. So so.
I mean, are you considering going or no? But you didn't see
maybe if it was free.
Maybe if it was free, yeah. But you were a fan, too, at some point.
Yeah, I was. But, like the name of this tour is Not in This Lifetime.
And like...
That's a good one.
Well said. Yeah. I'll say another thing. Like honestly, like because I was there, too, I found the crowd, like, I was always, like, a huge fan of Guns N' Roses, but I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be censoring myself, but it's coming out too late.
Okay.
I find that like
you didn't like the crowd.
I didn't like the crowd at Olympic Stadium. I remember being on the metro, going there, and I just didn't associate. Like I just didn't feel part of that crowd, But I was a fan, So
also one thing too I noticed is like I was a huge fan back in the day, but like 2017, looking at some of their lyrics these days probably couldn't be made as songs. I don't think.
Of
Guns N' Roses,
okay,
yeah.
like the like Appetite stuff, or
no, even it's just some of the songs, like
yeah,
some of the like.
it's a bit dated now.
Yeah. Like it's something that like would be. It'd be a little bit way more controversial in different ways these days, I think. But
yeah,
even though Axl sort of sold it as a character, but Guns N' Roses isn't the only band coming to town, or the only show happening.
Sorry to interrupt. There was a moment where they had Steven Adler come up on stage at the Dodger Stadium, which is L.A., and that's where the band was born. And he played 2 songs, and I felt it in my soul. It felt like Guns N' Roses. That felt like Guns N' Roses.
Okay.
And that's, so it's, to me, it's like one member can make a huge difference.
So it's Axl, Slash, and somebody else, not Duff.
It's Duff. It's Duff, but Duff's like a dumb blondie. It doesn't really matter. Sorry.
Okay, you're talking about censoring yourself there. We have nothing against blonde people.
No, I have a lot of blonde friends. I'm just being funny.
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah. Go on.
But yeah. So yes, that's it. But as I was saying, there's a lot of other acts coming to town, and now here's Hannah Besseau with the community calendar.
July 24 to 26, the Tiger Lotus Co-op is hosting a Vulva Puppets workshop to kick off the Fierce Uterus series. The collective is hosting a giant vulva puppet making workshop where you'll learn the basic papier-mâché techniques. The workshop also offers a brief history of puppets and of vulvas. They'll cover basic anatomy of the female reproductive system, common conditions, and techniques for keeping good health. Facilitators Amanda and Courtney will also draw on teachings from massage therapy, yoga, and Ayurveda for the pelvic floor, as well as some personal research. No experience necessary. Saturday, July 29 from 12 to 1 at the Hyatt Regency Hotel, Just for Laughs is hosting Trevor Noah. The event, in conversation with Trevor Noah, is a rare opportunity to get a closer look into one of the most thoughtful and thought-provoking comedians in the world. Join Trevor and a moderator to be announced for a free-flowing conversation touching on Trevor's life and experiences, the world today, and whatever comes to mind. Once again, that's July 29th. Also Saturday, July 29 from 9 to 12 a.m. at Sala Rosa, Ott returns to Montreal playing alongside Un Blonde and Rose Bush. Tickets are available online in advance and at the door. Wednesday, 6:30 to 9 p.m. CJLO 1690 AM and Kick Drum present Backyard Sessions, featuring live music from local Montreal artists, and every Wednesday all summer at different plateau cafes. This Wednesday is Amboise, Justin Wright, and Aquarius Dreams. Entry is $5 or pay what you can. Doors open at 6:30.
And now, predictions!
Okay, my prediction is it's going to rain for the next 2 weeks, at least every other day.
My prediction is that during the upcoming Guns N' Roses concert, which is outdoors, it's going to rain.
You mean a little bit of nice August rain?
Yes.
Cold August rain. And I predict actually that on his way to the stage at the Guns N' Roses concert, Axl Rose is going to trip over one of those fake granite tree stumps and complain about it.
Okay, this is like a serious prediction, but I think there's going to be another rock star suicide in the next 2 weeks.
Okay. I predict that Donald Trump will still be president in 2 weeks' time.
Sad but true. Although you never know. I predict that following his stint at the White House, Sean Spicer is going to become the new press secretary for Denis Coderre. And that's our podcast. I want to thank you guys very much. Tanu, we can, if you guys want to plug anything or...
No, I'm just very happy to be here, and
good to hear that.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Perfect, thank you very much. And so definitely check out forgetthebox.net. We're covering Just for Laughs. Also, go to our Patreon page. Give us a little bit of money for a couple of bucks or $5 a month. You could get a Forget the Box t-shirt, or maybe we'll give a stuffed Duff McKagan blow-up doll or something like that. It's been a fun one. Catch you in 2 weeks on the next podcast.
The FTB podcast by the Forget the Box Media Collective in Montreal was hosted by Jason C. McLean and produced by Hannah Besseau. For daily, unique, original content covering news, music, politics, arts, lifestyles, food, film, you name it, we've got it. Check out forgetthebox.net.